You are breathing other creatures' secrets right now. Not metaphorically, not poetically, but physically. With every single breath, air around you is packed with invisible chemical traces from bodies, food, walls, plants, pets, and strangers. And the disturbing part is that you are adding your own traces back into it. You think nobody can read your body unless they see you, scan you, or touch you. But life has been reading bodies from the air for billions of years. Every animal is leaking information all the time. Identity, danger, hunger, stress, sickness, sex, territory, death. All of it can become chemistry. Humans barely notice this because we worship one sense above every other sense. Vision. We trust our eyes so much that we confuse what we see with what is real. But light is actually a very limited way to understand the world. Light moves in straight lines, stops at walls, and usually tells you only what is happening right now. Smell is different. Smell bends around corners, leaks through cracks, sticks to rooms, and outlives the thing that created it. A smell can tell you what happened before you arrived. It can warn you about something before it appears. It can turn empty space into a hidden map. So while humans live in a bright visual world, most of life lives in a chemical one. And once you understand that, ordinary animals start looking almost supernatural. Start with the dog. When your dog stops to sniff grass, you probably think it is being distracted. But that patch of grass may contain more information than your entire walk. To a dog, a sidewalk is not a sidewalk. It is a timeline. Every animal that passed left a chemical signature behind. A dog can sample who was there, where they moved, and what condition they may have been in. A fire hydrant is not a random object to a dog. It is closer to a social network made of urine, skin oils, bacteria, hormones, and time. And the hardware inside a dog's nose is built for exactly this. When humans inhale, one messy stream of air handles both breathing and smelling. But a dog's nose helps separate air for breathing from air used for scent detection. Part of that air moves into a specialized maze lined with tissue designed to catch odor molecules. Then the dog breathes out through side slits that help keep new scent moving inward. So even while exhaling, the dog can continue sampling the world. That means a simple sniff is not a pause. It is data collection. And when humans drag dogs away from sniffing, we are not just interrupting a habit. We are cutting them off from one of the richest parts of their reality. Some research even suggests that scent work can make dogs more optimistic and confident, which makes sense because for a dog, smell is not entertainment. It is the main interface. But humans underestimate dogs because we also underestimate ourselves. For a long time, science treated human smell almost like a failed sense. The story went like this. Animals sniff, humans think. In the 19th century, Paul Broca argued that humans had small olfactory bulbs compared with other brain regions. That helped create the idea that we traded smell for higher intelligence. It was a beautiful story. It was also too simple. Humans do smell, but many of us are culturally bad at paying attention to smell. English has huge vocabularies for color and sound, but smell often has to borrow words. We say something smells sweet, smoky, rotten, floral, or like something else. But other cultures show that this is not a biological limit. The Jahai people of Malaysia have dedicated words for smells and can name odors with remarkable precision. In other words, humans may not have weak noses. We may have untrained attention. And when researchers tested this directly, the results were surprisingly humiliating for our visual pride. Blindfolded students were asked to follow a scent trail of chocolate across grass. They got down on their hands and knees, sniffed like animals, and many of them succeeded. The ability was not gone. It was just buried under civilization. But in the insect world, ignoring chemical signals is not embarrassing. It is fatal. Inside an ant colony, smell is not a sense. It is the operating system. Many ants live in darkness, where chemical signals matter more than anything visual. Pheromones tell them where food is, where danger is, who belongs, and what to do next. One ant is tiny. But millions of ants connected by chemical messages can behave like one giant animal. That is the genius of the colony. It is also the weakness, because if you change the chemical message, you can change reality itself. In a famous experiment, scientists coated a living ant with oleic acid. That chemical is associated with dead insects. The ant was alive, moving, and trying to return to the nest, but its sisters smelled death. So, they carried the living ant to the garbage pile. It did not matter that the ant was kicking. It did not matter that the body was moving. In that world, the chemical label was stronger than the visual evidence. If you smell dead, you are dead. And this chemical obedience can become even darker. Army ants follow scent trails so intensely that a broken trail can trap them in a loop. If the trail curves into itself, the ants may keep walking in a circle. More ants join, reinforcing the path, until the colony creates a spinning death spiral. Their navigation system becomes a prison. Their greatest strength becomes the thing that kills them. Scientists have also damaged the genetic systems ants need to detect odor properly. The result is not just an ant with a missing sense. It is an ant cut off from society. Scent-blind ants can ignore larvae, miss trails, panic at the wrong time, and wander away alone. Without smell, the colony stops being a colony to them. This is the first big lesson. Chemicals do not just describe life. Chemicals organize life. And this invisible organization does not stop with insects. It scales up to the largest land animals alive. An elephant's trunk is one of the most powerful noses on Earth. It is a hand, a hose, a weapon, a tool, and a chemical scanner all at once. Elephants have an enormous number of olfactory receptor genes, more than any animal studied in some comparisons. Their trunks move constantly, sampling the air, the ground, the bodies around them, and the path ahead. This sense can become a kind of danger radar. In East Africa, elephants can react differently to clothing worn by different human groups. If the scent is linked to people they associate with danger, the herd may retreat. If the scent belongs to people they do not associate with danger, they may stay calmer. They do not need to see a face. They do not need to hear a voice. The threat is already written in the molecules. Elephants also use smell to track their own families across distance. Researchers have moved urine-soaked soil from one elephant's trail into a place where it should not be. When elephants find the displaced scent, they can react as if the social map has been broken. They know who the scent belongs to, but the location does not match where that family member should be. That means odor is not just smell to an elephant. It is identity, memory, location, and family structure. Now here is where the story gets even stranger. Humans did not only underestimate noses on land, we underestimated smell in the sky. For a long time, many scientists believed birds had little sense of smell. One of the most famous mistakes came from John James Audubon in the 19th century. He hid a rotting carcass and watched vultures ignore it. Then he concluded they must hunt mostly by sight. The problem was that the experiment misunderstood what many vultures are actually tuned to detect. They are not simply looking for the most rotten thing in the field. They can be sensitive to specific chemical stages of decay. A bad experiment helped trap science in a bad idea for generations. The truth became impossible to ignore over the open ocean. Imagine flying over thousands of miles of water with almost no visual landmarks. To us, the ocean looks like an endless blue surface, but to many seabirds, it is not empty. It has smell landmarks. When tiny marine life is eaten, chemical processes can release dimethyl sulfide into the air. To humans, it may smell faintly like the sea. To seabirds, it can point toward feeding activity below the surface. The bird is not flying over emptiness. It is flying through a three-dimensional odor map. Some seabirds hatch in dark burrows before they ever see the ocean. But even before vision becomes useful, smell can already point them toward the marine world. And when researchers interfere with a seabird's sense of smell, navigation can fall apart. The wings still work. The eyes still work. But the invisible map disappears. Then there is the snake, which turns smell into something even more alien. A snake does not simply sniff the way a mammal does. It throws a forked tongue into the air and collects chemistry from 2 points at once. For centuries, people thought the tongue might be a stinger or a strange tasting organ, but the tongue is not really there to taste food like our tongues do. It is a sampling device. The 2 tips gather odor molecules from slightly different places. Then the tongue delivers those molecules to sensory organs in the roof of the mouth. By comparing the left tip with the right tip, the snake can smell direction. It smells in stereo. That becomes terrifying after a rattlesnake strikes. A rattlesnake may bite a rodent and then release it to avoid being injured. The prey runs away, wounded, terrified, and hidden among countless other forest smells. But the snake can follow the chemical trail of that exact animal, not just any mouse, that mouse. In darkness, through clutter, after the strike, the invisible trail remains. This is where smell and taste start to separate. Smell is wide and atmospheric. It can tell you identity, direction, danger, distance, memory, and time. Taste is more like a security checkpoint at the entrance to the body. It asks one brutal question: swallow or reject. That is why taste is often cruder than we imagine. Many toxins taste bitter, but your tongue does not need to identify every poison precisely. It just needs to tell you to stop. And because taste requires contact, some animals move taste sensors to places that seem impossible. Flies can taste with their feet the moment they land. For them, food is not just something in the mouth. Food is the surface under the legs. Mosquitoes can detect certain bitter repellents through contact and leave before biting. Parasitic wasps can chemically inspect hidden hosts before placing eggs inside them, and catfish take this idea to the extreme. Catfish has taste buds spread across much of its smooth body. Its whiskers, skin, and body surface help detect food in dark, muddy water. It is almost a swimming tongue. Over evolution, diet can reshape chemical reality itself. Cats and some other meat specialists lost the ability to taste sweetness. Sugar was not important enough to keep that sense working. Some nectar-feeding birds, however, evolved new ways to detect sweetness from receptors with a different original job. A tiny shift in taste can open an entirely new way of life. Flowers, nectar, migration, and whole branches of evolution can depend on chemical detection. Now, the final twist. The sense humans are proudest of is not as separate from chemistry as it feels. Vision feels clean because light arrives from far away. Smell feels dirty because molecules enter the nose. At the cellular level, both senses depend on molecular machines triggering signals. The proteins in your eyes change shape when light hits them. Those changes become electrical messages. Your brain turns those messages into color, motion, faces, fire, stars, and sunrise. So vision is not the opposite of chemical sensing. Vision is ancient chemical machinery redesigned to detect light. You do not live in a visual world with a few smells floating through it. You live in a chemical world where one branch of chemistry learned to see. And every time you open your eyes, you are using molecules to turn light into reality.